Rabbi?
Shabbat Shalom to you all. Welcome to our Shabbat services this evening. A reminder that next week we are going to be outside and the weather's going to drop 20 degrees and it's going to be a beautiful, cool summer night for our final Shabbat under the stars and a Simcha Shabbat dinner, I believe.
Rabbi, from your lips to God's ears.
Yes, yes. God willing, it will drop 20 degrees and we'll be able to picnic and enjoy a meal and a beautiful musical Shabbat together next week. Tonight, we are here, if you want to open up your Sidurim to page 11. Chazan Smith is going to lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat this evening. Page 11.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma panav betodah. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, Bizmirot naria lo, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Arba'im shnakut bador v'omoram to'e levavhem v'hem lo yadeu derachai asher nishpati ve'apti im yavon el menuchati.
Join us together as we sing on page 13, Shir L'Adonai.
Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru l'Adonai, Kol ha'aretz. Shiru l'Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Zapru v'goyim kevodo, Bechol ha'amim nifleotav, Ki gadol Adonai, Umhulal me'od, Norahu, Al kol Elohim, ay, Ki kol Elohei ha'amim elilim, V'Adonai shamayim asa, Hod ve'hadar lefanav, Hoz v'tiferet b'mikdasho, Havu l'Adonai mishpechot amim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, Seu mincha, Uvo lechatzrotav, ay, Hishtachavu l'Adonai, Behadra kodesh, Hilu mipanav kol haaretz, Imru v'goyim Adonai malach, Achikon tevel bal timot, Adinamim b'meisharim, Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Umlo, Ya'alo sadai, Oachol asher bo, ay, Az yeranenu kol atzeyar, Lifnei Adonai kiva, lishpot haaretz, lishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim be'umato, yalai, Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Adonai Malach. Orzaru latzatikul sheileh simcha, simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, ve'hodu lezecher kodsho.
Page 17.
Lifnei Adonai, kiva lishpot haaretz, ishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim b'meisharim. Adonai malach yegezu amim, yoshu kegoshev kerim telut haaretz.
Join together at the bottom of page 20, Romemu.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachtavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachtavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachtavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachtavu lehar kodsho.
We rise as we turn to page 21 for Psalm 29.
Mizmor leDavid, Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kavod shemo ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halevanon. Vayarkideim kemo egel, Levanon vesiron kemo ben reimim, Kol Adonai chotzev labodesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol el ayalot, vayechesov yarod v'hechalho. Hu hechalo kulo merkavot, Adonai lamabul yashab, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai evarech et amo v'shalom. Yai lai la lai, yai la lai, yai la lai 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 lai.
Be seated. We welcome the Shabbat bride with the singing of Lecha Dodi, page 23.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor vezachor bedibur echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shem u'tiferet ve'litila. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבתך חילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך ומלוכה, ומבצעים מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי. על יד בן ישי בית הלך מקרבה אל נפשי גאלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך תגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקומי, מה שוכחי ומה תהמי. בך יחפשו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר עתילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שעושייך, ורחקו קום מבלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, תמסוס חתן על כלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי. על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצהלה. תוך אמוני ים סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated, page 27.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. עדותיך נאמנות מאוד, ביתך עוד ינבון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי אשר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא.
Page 29.
אדוני מלך יהוד לבש, לבש אדוני עושית זר. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, בביתך נאה בקודש, אדוני לאורך ימים.
Mourners and those observing your sight, rise, page 30.
Amen. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam U'Olamei Olamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal. Shmei D'Kucha B'reichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. L'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shamaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
You may be seated. Before we jump into the Mariv service, I want to take a few minutes and look at a Tefillah with you this evening. I want to look at the second paragraph of the Shema this evening. And the reason I want to look at the second paragraph of the Shema is because, as it happens, tomorrow morning we are reading Parshat Ekev, and in the middle of Parshat Ekev, chapter 11, we find the second paragraph of the Shema. So, often, many people, I'm not saying any of you, but many people find themselves in shul reciting words, singing the melodies, and not always paying attention to what the Hebrew actually says. And for many of us, we don't know what the Hebrew actually is, and yet we're so used to davening it that we don't think about the words. And the second paragraph of the Shema has always been, for many, a challenging one. So I want to take a quick look at it. Turn to page 42 in your Siddurim. We're talking about the paragraph that begins, V'hya im shmo tishmeo motzvotai asher anochi mitzveh edchem hayom lahava et Adonai Elohechem u'uvdo b'chol levavchem b'chol nafshechem. If you hear and obey the mitzvot that I command you this day, to love and serve Adonai your God with all your heart and all your soul, then I will grant you rain for your land in the season, rain in autumn, rain in spring. And you shall gather, and you shall be filled, and you shall eat and be satisfied. But take care, lest your heart be tempted and you stray. Then God's anger will flare up against you. God will close up the sky. There will be no rain, and the earth will not yield its produce. You will quickly disappear from the good land that Adonai is giving you. What do you think of this? What have you thought about this in the past? What strikes you when you read this second paragraph of the Shema? Michael. Michael, it's an excellent question, and it's one that, how about after services, you and I have a deeper, longer conversation about it? Yes, Mary. So there is a theological challenge that Miriam is raising, that many people raise, that people are quite uncomfortable. If indeed this is a paragraph that is seemingly reward and punishment, how do we know that we've done anything wrong to deserve this? Because we can look at our lives oftentimes and say, I haven't done anything, and yet trouble follows, suffering endures. So one way to look at this is not as an individual, but as a collective. That's what Joel is suggesting, and it's not about us individually, whether we do or we don't, but as a people, as a nation, as a country, as a world, are we the ones who contribute to this drought or not? But we know that science has more to do, and meteorology, and all sorts of other things, than whether rain comes or rain doesn't come, and it's not necessarily directly related to individual or communal actions. So you raise an excellent, excellent point. Renee? Bribery. God is tempting us and saying to us, if you just follow my ways, all's going to be great. And if not, what's the reverse of the bribery? Yeah, it's almost like God threatens us, which can be seen as rather demeaning in terms of a healthy adult relationship with God. Excellent, Renee. Great point. Bob, we'll take one more, and then we'll jump in. Yeah.
Well, I do think that it sounds to me like a happy social bar and a radio station. Here's a happy social, you do that, it's like,
Tell us a little bit more.
well, it's pretty clear that God wants us to perform in his happy community. He fails us, and for which he'll compensate us. He'll rain with the man to the place. If we don't come to God, we should perform. We're not going to look at this as a reward. And in fact, we'll be kicked out of the land.
So do you agree with that theology?
When we have the land part of the promise of God. And so it seems to me God would have us to open the box to perform.
But what happens when we do perform and yet still things happen that are seemingly unjust? So in other words, what Bob might be suggesting here is that we need to take a long view, both of the rewards and the punishment. I had a professor in rabbinical school way back when at the Jewish Theological Seminary, a really wonderful professor. His name was Eliezer Diamond. And he taught Talmud classes, but he was also a renowned teacher of liturgy. And he suggests in this paragraph, just as you were suggesting, Bob, that one has to take the long view. That when we look at this paragraph, we can't look at the immediate, but rather that there are effects of our deeds, that are long-term consequences of our actions, both good and bad. And what we do happens beyond the moment. So that we have to think in terms of our actions, what is the consequences, not just in this moment, not just tomorrow, but many years hence. And perhaps that's what is going on in this paragraph, that we don't see the results of our behaviors, but that the environment sees the results of our behaviors, or others sees the results of our behaviors. He tells this wonderful story in a positive light about this paragraph that I want to share with you because I think it's a compelling story. And it's about a cousin of his whose name was Shira. And she had a habit of after services, when everybody left the congregation, she would go around and she would put all of the Sidurim, all the prayer books, back into the shelf. Or if they were left on the seat, she would put them into the seat pockets. And she would do the same with the Humashim. She didn't like to leave them on the table. And when asked why she did this, she said it's because she observed her grandfather, who was very dedicated to synagogue life, very dedicated to prayer, came to Minyan regularly, do the same thing. He said, out of respect for the Sidurim, we don't just leave them on the seats. We have to put them away. So, as it happened, this is crazy, but Shara was doing this in her synagogue when a young man she never saw before came in at the end of services and started to do the same thing. And she said to the young man in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, hey, you're taking my job. And she said, what motivates you to do this? And he said, actually, I had a teacher many years ago from my bar mitzvah. And he taught me that this is one of those things that you do to pay respect for synagogue and the Sidurim. Who was his teacher? Shara's grandfather. So sometimes the things that we do in the moment, we don't realize the impact, consequences of them, for good and for bad. For bad, we gossip about somebody else, and we don't realize the extent of how that gossip may transfer to all sorts of other people in some negative way that may actually harm that individual. Not in the moment, but in a much later moment. And so this paragraph is one that reminds us that behaviors matter, not just in the moment, but in the long term. And we have to be very, very careful what we do, how we do it, when we do it, why we do it, whom we do it. So as we read the paragraph in a few moments, hopefully you will take that to heart as we turn to 39 and rise for the Baruch. You may be seated, Baruch atah.
ומה ביום ובין לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המרים הרבים, אהבת עולם. Page 40. צוותך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך וקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה עם שמוע תשמע. Adonai Elohechem emet באמונה כזאת וקיים עליהם. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם. משה מרים ופני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם יא 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 ידדי ידדי די די יא 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 ידדי ידדי די די Yai dai yada dai dai yada dai 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 Yai dai yada dai dai yada dai 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 Mi kamocha bainim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar bakodesh Nora teilot osefele Nora teilot osefele מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה. זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני. Al Yisrael.
Amen. Page 45.
ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום, מעתה ויד עולם, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים.
Rise 46.
ושמרו בני ישראל, את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, יעלמה דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון ויומכון, וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתבר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה, ברכו לעילה מן כה ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
Silent Amidah begins on page 46. Yom Adi Shalem, page 50.
Kikelakilash meraba.
Amen.
Yalama divra kirute, vyam nechmachute, b'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, b'agala b'zman karim v'mbru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehesh meraba mevorach, ve'alamu l'alamei alamaya, yitbarach, yitbarach yishpak yitpa'arvit fromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'tileh v'tilah hal shmeir kucha brichu. Ta'elim mikover chata b'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram b'alma v'imru. Amen. Titkabat zerotahonu v'atahon decho Yisrael, Todam v'hon divishmaya v'imru. Amen. Yehesh lamarab mishamaya v'chaim, aleina v'ko Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Hoseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'ko Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Page 55.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagofen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lama'aseh bereshit, ihu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yahava u'ratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Amen.
We continue with Aleinu on page 56. Aleinu deshabeach Adon achol, atei tefillah liyotzeh b'reishit, v'lo samei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu b'chot ha'adama, v'lo sam Eloheinu Yisrael, v'gor aleinu kekol ha'olam, v'anachnu boreinu achad
Elohim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Achatu b'toratecha, Adonai Yisrael ha'olam ha'ed, v'ne'emar v'hayim Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, hayom ha'hu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo,
You may be seated at this time. We recall those whose yard sites are this week, 23 Av to the 29th of Av. May their memories be a blessing. Mamie Abramson, Zion Ephraimian, David Aparis, Ann Ashkenazi, Norman Bressick, Ted Clark, Rose Davis, Goldie Eget, Mirza, Emmanuel, Beatrice Fine, Lloyd Fishman, Florence Fishman, Lori Frankel, Sam Friedman, Ralph Gabay, David Ginsburg, Abraham Gorman, Wolf Greenberg, Isidore Hurwitz, Jaime Kaplan, Yael Kingsley, Aaron Klein, Abe Florman, Nisan Cole, Maxine Kasoy, Moshe Kremer, William Krimsky, William Kaluva, Ellen Levy, Stephen Litter, Yetta Ludwig, Mac Maltzman, Molly Manel, Stella Messman, Yom Tov, Michael Peter Prus, Thelma Rifkin, Edith Rosenfeld, Vera Rothstein, Betty Schlesinger, Mamie Shapiro, Aaron Schwartz, Deborah Sizomu, Charlotte Soibelman, Rena Spat, Alan Strassner, Sherry Tenen, Lena Wasser, Madeline Wayne, Joseph Udowinski, Charles Wessler, Dorothy Zeissy, Ruth Zuckerbrun. Those in the morning, serving for our site, 50 years. Yitgadal v'yikadash Shomrei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach v'yutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yom echon v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen.
Yehi Shomrei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'le'olam v'maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal mei k'dusha b'rechu ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata v'shbechata v'nechamata ta'amiran v'yalama v'imru amen.
Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, Chaim Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Shalom b'broma. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen. May the one who guards over each one of us guard over memories of our loved ones as we say. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. A reminder, as I mentioned in the beginning of services, next week we have our Shabbat Under the Stars and Simcha Shabbat honoring those whose birthdays and anniversaries are in the month of August. So come and join us and get a little treat. Community picnic on Sunday, August 28th from 11 to 2 o'clock. Lots of fun and celebrations of all sorts of wonderful things. Come and join us for that. And on Sunday, September 11th, Rabbi Brad Artson will be speaking on the topic of Sinai, Stars, and Synapse. Science and Judaism and Partners in Wonder. And that's going to be taking place at 4:30 p.m., I believe. So, thank you, Linda. 4:30 p.m. So, a reminder that starting on Monday, in addition to being in person for Morning Minyan, you can join us on Zoom for Morning Minyan, not live streaming, but on Zoom. So that begins on Monday. And we wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. services. We conclude with Yigdal, which is found on page 62.
Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishtabach nimtza v'yenei del metziuto echad v'yen yachid keichudo ne'lam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf ve'ein lo guf lo na'aroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra Rishon ben Reshit l'Reshito Hino Adon Olam lechol notzar Yoreh gedulato u'malchuto Shefa nebuato netano El anshe segulato v'tifarto Lo kam b'Yisrael k'Mosheo Navi u'mahapid et emunato Torah temet natan le'amoel al yad nevi'o neman beito lo yachal yipael ve'lo yamir dato le'olamim lezulato sofeh v'yodea setarenu mapik b'sof davar bekadmato gomel leish chesed kemifalo noten larashara kerishato Yishlach leketz hayamin meshichenu Likot mechakeketz Yeshuato Meitim yechayel berov chasto Baruch adei ad shem tehilato Meitim yechayel berov chasto Baruch adei ad shem tehilato.
A relaxing, a repair-filled, a Shabbat of Shavah, of tranquility for all. Shabbat Shalom.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru,